Hi, can you hear me?
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
great. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sanjeev Mota from B&K Securities. On behalf of B&K, welcome you all to another ideation session. We have with us the management of Century Textiles. We have Mr. Snehal Shah, who is the CFO. We have Mr. KT Jitendran, who's the CEO of Birla Estates. Unfortunately, he's not so well, so we won't be able to see him today on video, but he's there to discuss. So, and we are expecting Mr. JP Narayan to join soon, right? The head of paper division. So, thank you, gentlemen, for joining this. Thank you so much for giving us your valuable time.
Yes, Sanjeev, I think also one Mr. Niray Rathi also may join.
Okay,
So he's also in another meeting. It's just getting over.
sure. Sure. So I guess, sir, we'll start and maybe.
Yeah, sure.
So the way we also have Amit, as you know, and what the way we'll do it is I'll start with asking some level questions and some macro questions, and then Amit will take over from there, if that is okay.
Sure.
Okay. So still, I'll start with you only. I guess you are representing the whole group, so to say, in terms of the entire all the businesses. Just wanted to understand, today, though it's actually under Mr. Kumar Mangalam Birla, but it's still not officially an Aditya Birla Group company, Century, right? But just wanted to understand a couple of things. How much time does Mr. Birla spend on this company? And is there, any plans to move to being a part of the umbrella Aditya Birla Group company?
So should I take that question?
Yes, please.
Okay. So to answer that first question, uh, as far as I'll speak about real estate later, but I'll speak about the other businesses. Apart from the board meetings, at least on a quarterly basis, he reviews the entire businesses of the two manufacturing businesses, that is paper and the textile businesses. Of course, off and on, if there are issues, etc., we do have meetings with him on that. So he's very focused on that. As far as real estate business is concerned, I guess you can, from his perspective, say he's almost hands-on right now. I mean, KT will vouch for me that he's almost at least week may at least twice he is probably speaking to KT to get updates on various things. So from that perspective, I think particularly since real estate is our growth engine for the time right now, so he's pretty focused and he takes a lot of personal interest, particularly in the Worli project, if you ask me, which according to us is our most prestigious project. On the ABG integration, well, informally, we are all kind of integrated. And if you see a lot of people like me, our managing director, our CHRO, and a few other people have already, been seconded from the Aditya Birla Group.
Right.
And we have already integrated most of the policies, including our HRMS system, etc. There are some legal things that we need to sort out. So work is progressing on that. It got delayed because of the COVID and the courts being closed and only priority cases being taken on. So that work is in progress. We are hopeful by the end of this year we'll be formally also integrated with the ABG. But informally, we are almost in all respects. Only thing that we need is to put the logo on our communication, which can be only done if it is legally permissible. So we are taking all those permissions before jumping on that.
Sure. Yeah, I know JP is not joined yet.
Motaji,
Sorry.
if I can add.
Yeah, please.
Snehal said, in fact, I had a meeting with chairman today itself in the morning, physical meet at around 1.5 hours meeting, basically to present all the the marketing material for Worli. And I raised the same question what Snehal just mentioned. When can I put the logo and officially, because that's the way I would like to do it. He said, no, right now you go ahead because it may take about 3 more months.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so it's just a technical thing, is what I understand.
Right. That's great to know. So, I know Mr. JP is not yet joined, but Selvi, maybe you can talk about the past part, and then once Mr. JP joins, we can talk about paper. But when Century kind of came into the new avatar and we divested the cement business to Ultratech, at that time the view was also that why don't we divest the paper business as well, right? And that kind of seemed like the right strategy. uh, how has that changed? And what do you think from a future perspective? Is that kind of now a done deal that paper is actually going to be an integral part of this business?
Mr. Mota, at the time when, I mean, of course, you're probably referring to the time when we probably were looking for suitors for taking over our paper business.
That's right.
And probably at that time, the paper business was not doing well. And at that time, the thinking was, divest all the businesses and get the money and pump it into the real estate business is what probably was the thinking behind it. But the problem there we found out that the kind of size that we are and the market for that kind of acquisition was not available at the price that we wanted. And then at that particular time, we also, since we were doing due diligence, we also realized that actually, if we ride the cycle, this business is also a money spinner, and that cash flow can be actually used for financing our real estate business instead of getting the entire cash flow at one time. And it's not going to be directly invested, so we will be having a big treasury management, and whether we really earn that much return compared to what the paper business would give us. So that was the intention, and right now I think we are doing extremely well in the paper business in spite of all COVID, etc., and all that. In fact, we've increased our capacity by 36,000 in our tissue business, and we are also in the process of increasing another 36,000 tons in our board capacity. So from that perspective, I think right now there is no even thinking of anything to do with the divestation of paper business or whatever it is.
Sure.
So all this divestation, I mean, in the sense of putting it out in the market or something like that. In terms of strategy, tomorrow when we decide to, what do you call it, monetize or the paper, the real estate business, at that time we might look at some different structures, etc.
Sure.
In terms of how we want to do it. But again, it will not be to give it away to somebody else.
Sure. That's great. So just before we go to the other part of business, textile is relatively small, although still quite reasonable size in terms of sales. And given that what is happening in textile, we've just recently come out with a report. We've been talking to a lot of textile companies. Textile seems to be in a very strong wicket today as a sector. Where are we in that? What are we facing? Do we see this as an opportunity, or how do we see this?
So, Sanjeev, that's a good question. The way at the moment we are looking at it is, considering that we are expecting, we have limited cash available, and we have to allocate capital to the best business that will give us the maximum returns. And from that perspective, we are looking at real estate. So within our kind of sphere, with the limited resources, we have decided, that we will not be allocating much capital to the textile business. But in terms of growth, what we are looking at, it's not that we are not going to grow because we can't have had our own capacity, but there are a lot of idle capacity which is available in the market. So probably we'll be riding on those in terms of some sort of an outsourcing model, or by which we are already kind of doing, by which we can, earn extra money,
right,
and add capacity and meet our demands with and in the vicinity there are a lot of mills that we can, small mills that we can ride on.
Right. So this is not a business. Also, so would this also be, you think, a strategic business? So you've done recently also a tie-up with Grasim, I see,
Yeah,
on some
yeah,
small
yeah.
model. So,
So Sanjeev,
yeah.
I'll just give you a brief here. You're right. I mean, I should have mentioned that. So these are the kind of things we are looking at in terms of little bit of group synergy that we can have,
Mhm.
and whether we can add value to both all the entire group put together. So this was a kind of a win-win situation for us in terms of a joint venture where we find that the knitwear business is not as big in India as it is in, say, for China, and there is a good scope of marketing and building this particular thing. So we decided, Grasim was looking at some partner, you know, to tie up so that they can sell the fiber, knit fiber to that party, and that party makes the fabric and sells, and then sells. So that would be, it's like how we are doing, how Grasim is doing with Liva. They would do a similar thing with this particular knitwear. But then
Right.
they said the plant also is in Gujarat of Grasim, and we also are there. There's land available. So that is how this thing came, that we kind of use the expertise and the capacities of our textile business to do the spinning of the fiber that comes from uh, Grasim, and we market that particular thing. And in
Right.
terms of investment, it would be, since it is a joint venture, roughly, I mean, I'm just giving you rough figures. The total investment in the entire project is about 200 crores spread over 3 years. But most of it is going to be coming through kind of subsidized debt, like the tough loans and all those kind of things. And the maximum equity investments that we are looking at is 25 crores each from Grasim and what do you call it, Century Textiles.
Right.
So that you can consider as some sort of a capex you can talk in textile, other than what you call it, the normal maintenance and environmental requirements that nowadays come up.
Right. Sure. So, sir, before I move to the property business and just the outlook, last thing from your side that I have is on the balance sheet. So, one of the things, as you said, paper will be throwing some cash and that will be used for property, but you'll also need debt given what the property expansion is. Now, if I look at the balance sheet as of year end 21, on a net debt to equity basis, it looks pretty strong. Net debt to EBITDA is like a higher ratio. So what do you look at when you do that? Or are there some numbers in your mind that you'll not go above certain number, or, over, let's say, next 3-4 years?
So, Sanjeev, small answer to that is, I mean, uh, the way our projections are. So maybe let me just give you some sort of an sense first in terms of how things are going to pan out. Now, say from now, that is now is I'm talking about current situation, till say about FY23, we expect the total fund requirement of the real estate business to be in the region of around 2,000 crores. So this 2,000 crores is for real estate business after considering their internal cash flows. That is their collections from the sales that they do, as well as the lease rentals that they receive. So that is 2,000 crores, of which, roughly 1,200 crores is expected to be funded by the parent CTIL, and the balance will be more like a construction finance from banks. Now, against this 1,200 crores, which is roughly required from CTIL, the liquidity cushion at CTIL is roughly around 1,700 crores. So, and if you want me to give you some sort of a sense of the breakup of the 70 crores, we expect CTL, to generate about 460 crores surplus cash from all our other businesses, particularly real estate, paper and textile business. And this 460 crores is after providing for tax and dividend at the corporate level. So that is 460 crores comes from our existing business. We have some undrawn term loan of about 50 crores. We have a commercial limit of about 1,000 crores, of which we have already drawn 450 crores. So there is another 550 crores available to be drawn. Working capital, we have almost 600 crores to be drawn. We have liquid investments about 50 odd crores. So the total drawdown available is almost 1,700 crores, which, in terms of comfort to me as a finance manager, is good enough.
Right.
We are also looking at, some sort of PE or sovereign funds whom we can probably approach for funding requirement, more in terms of uh, doing a faster growth in our real estate business, as well as diversifying the risks of projects. But that, I think, is about 6 to 9 months away, and that would depend whether we really require those funds or not.
Right.
So, I mean, considering this drawing of about 2,000 crores of real estate business, my consolidated debt may reach 3,100 crores by FY23, with probably a debt EBITDA of around 5.
Right.
So, of course, 5 debt EBITDA is not something that we kind of would like to have over a long period of time. But what we have seen is from FY23 onwards, the EBITDA of real estate business will start ticking in, because if you know the real estate business, the EBITDA starts becoming lumpy in years. So the projects that we had launched in 2019, particularly the Kalyan Phase 1 and the Bangalore project, they will be completed and their EBITDA will be booked in one particular year itself. So
Right.
straight away in FY24, my EBITDA to debt will drop drastically. And somewhere around FY26, real estate business will start becoming cash surplus. So we expect to be, by that time, we expect ourselves to be completely debt free.
Right.
I hope that gives you some good picture.
And absolutely, but I guess from a covenant perspective, banks don't insist on some net debt to EBITDA.
No,
Right.
we of course give you. I mean, I can't give you, given this forum, the exact detail working. But when we are doing loan, we have to give those workings. So I think they look at it and they see that this is just a question of a year or two, and
Right.
then things will. Because we are not really booking the income of real estate business since we started. We have not booked a
Right.
single naya paisa as a income.
Right. Yeah. Great. Sir, okay, so let's move to the property business, sir. Mr. Jitendran, from you, what we are hearing a lot now is that there are very few players in the market who can sell unsold, unconstructed inventory. Right now, most buyers want, constructed, but other than some brand players, and clearly, obviously, you are one of them who can potentially do this. Just wanted your thought in terms of where is this market going, and not even from Birla Estate angle, but overall, if you can just talk about, we keep hearing about huge recovery in real estate and so on. Where are we, you think, on the cycle? What kind of, what will happen? Is the organized or the bigger players becoming bigger? What is your sense on this?
Yeah, thank you, Sanjeev, for that question. And good evening, everyone. So, contrary to the expectations, what we thought this entire pandemic and the lockdown will ensue, basically spending towards discretionary thing will lessen, markets will sort of shun real estate investments, etc. We were very surprised to know that the reverse is happening, largely due to a few factors. One is that suddenly, residential homes have become very important in the life of, of all of us, because many stuff which were usually done outside the home is now becoming into now as because of this long, tenure of shutdown has come into the house. So suddenly the importance of house in our lives have, exponentially increased. So house is where you do your children's education, your work, your resting, socialization, entertainment. Everything is now morphed inside the house. So suddenly the importance of a good, well-designed, spacious, reasonably located residential houses suddenly taken a huge significance. That's just one part of it. The other part is that, as you know, housing finance has become extremely attractive. The borrowing rates on housing finance has become so, attractive that it is like almost equal to what large companies' borrowing rates is, corporate borrowing rates. And that has been a huge fillip to the demand generation. Number two. Number three is due to the because of the pandemic, there were, and just the scenario just before that was that there were a lot of surplus unsold inventory in the market, largely closer to giving possession. And because the immediate impact of the lockdown, when the entire sales machinery got shut down, many developers came into serious financial trouble, and because of that they were forced to give incentives or cut down or give discounts, especially on ready to move in properties, or the last mile, 5-6 months away from possession. So those properties, the builders was left with no option but to give discounts and incentives to push the inventory out. And over and above that, the government came, certain state governments came with some lucrative, concessions like stamp duty reductions in Maharashtra, a little bit of that for affordable housing in Karnataka. So all of these factors actually pushed the demand in the other way, and the sentiment started rising in the residential market. So the first half of last year, of course, was a total blank. But from the second half, demand started really surging. There was a lot of momentum in inventory. It continued till March of last year. And again, April, the shutdown came, the second phase. But since June, we are seeing another surge in demand. So that is very welcome. And because of this massive lockdown, longer duration, very little new supply was coming into the market. The number of launches was very, very few. Therefore, the available inventory in the market has now started coming down. I won't dare to say there is an impact on pricing as of yet, but I see the demand in prices also going up in a period of the next 9 to 12 months if the current situation continues, because inventory levels are fast coming down. And over and above this, the other point which you said about consolidation, there has been a massive consolidation in many towns, many metros and towns, and the consumer also become much more active. The impact of RERA, the GST, and all that has also weeded out many unstable players out of the market. The market share of the more reputed, corporate, listed, well-funded people, players have risen more than double than what it was in the past. However, the market still remains highly fragmented, localized, totally under the control of approvals. You know how well the machinery approvals is all very local, and the expertise lies with the people who can liaison very well with the local agencies, etc., manage them, etc. But there has been a serious move towards consolidation. So in this scenario, I see a huge opportunity for players like ourselves, to take advantage of the current situation. Sanjeev, does that broadly answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yeah. In fact, maybe Amit will ask you more granular on your business.
Sure.
But I think Mr. Narayan has joined. Mr. JP, so welcome to this chat.
Hi, Sanjeev.
Hi. So, maybe my last question, and then I'll hand it to Amit. On paper business, what are you seeing? Are you seeing something which are more structural, something which is more cyclical? If you can talk a bit about what are you seeing on the paper side, would be great.
Sanjeev, I think paper industry is changing. If I just view the past 10 years, normally we take paper industry as a cyclical industry, but now it's changing, and the reason is the environmental pressures. Earlier, the paper industry was, it was a synonymous with the, you can say the writing, printing, and you can say stationery related things. But now, if you see the 3-4 variant, so we have got a writing printing variant, we have got a packaging, we have got a tissue, we have got a newsprint. Newsprint is no more, it's going away and going very fast, and hardly any manufacturing they are concentrating on newsprint. There is no big manufacturer in the country. Everyone has shifted their capacities either on packaging or on writing printing. So prior to COVID, I think writing printing was growing at the rate of 6.5%, but after COVID, the range will be somewhere around 4.5 to 5%. Before COVID, tissue was growing at the rate of somewhere around 7.8, 7.5 to 10%. But now the tissue growth has gone to 12 to 15%. Packaging board has moved from 8 to 10%. So this is the, you can say the structural view of the all variant of paper industry, and the share of, you can say the wellness product like tissues as well as the packaging, it's increasing now. Earlier, the share was in the range of somewhere around 30%. It's increasing day by day because every manufacturer is concentrating either on tissue or on packaging. So that is the scenario as a whole in the paper industry. If you see the current scenario of the paper industry and talk about, you can see the future 6 to 8 months, it's looking quite positive because the tissue and packaging was doing good during the COVID time. In fact, it was doing very good. And the paper has started moving just now once the office as well as the school has started opening. So I think we are operating our business more than 100%. And in terms of realization, in this month, we are either touching the pre-COVID level or crossing marginally the pre-COVID level in terms of realization. And the present disruption in the, you can say the global scenario, especially the container availability, has played a positive role for the domestic paper industry because the import has become almost zero. Our consumption is somewhere around 22 to 24 tons, putting organized and inorganized sector together. And the manufacturing is in the range of 20 million tons. So 2 tons we were anyway going short. Earlier, what happened, we were exporting somewhere around 4 to 5 million tons and we are importing somewhere 7 million tons. And that was the kind of equation. So now the shortage has already created, and that is giving a good leeway to increase the realization in the domestic market, and prices are improving day by day. So this is the current scenario, especially for the paper industry right now.
Great, and that's great to hear. Amit.
Yeah, hi JP sir. How are you, sir?
Hi Amit.
Yeah. So basically, sir, I'll just add into the same question, and these questions are basically has been asked by the investors, so to ask the management. So I'll just ask all these questions. So one thing in terms of, as you have already highlighted that we are already operating at more than 100% in terms of the capacity utilization. So basically the writing and printing, what we understand is that last quarter was not operating. So then in that case, we will be in a kind of volume shortage kind of situation for the in the coming quarters because we are already in that kind of thing. So
from this month onward, yes, because this month we are dispatching up to our, you can say the whatever we had produced, and our plants are running almost 100 plus capacity, and we are dispatching more than that. So I think we have already started stopping the order booking. We are not taking the excess order because we are seeing the potential to rise the prices, and if we will book the order on old prices, then we will be bound. So we have already stopped the booking, especially in all 3 segments. So you are right that for us there will be a manufacturing shortage.
So in the past, we were talking about that if that could be the situation, we'll go for the like asset light model where we'll do the outsourcing, we'll take something on rent. So is this also in a still in a planning stage? or
We are on an advanced stage, Amit. We are on an advanced stage, and once it will get finalized, then we will put that in present of board and take it forward. Right now, it's not frozen. We are doing the pre-work, but almost we had completed that. And once the things will be through in terms of quality and everything, definitely we will put the proposal forward.
Yes. So how much it can add, sir, incremental in terms of volume if we
See, the plan is that we had stopped manufacturing the low realization product on our board machine. So we are
Yes, sir.
looking for those products, and as the market will grow, we will keep increasing the capacity. Right now, we are planning somewhere around 4,000 tons per month. So if the market got expanded further with that product, we will take more product from them.
And in terms of pricing, sir, in the last quarter, we have taken quite a sharp increase. Now you are saying that we have already reached to peak kind of realization. So during this quarter, how much price hike we have taken in a broader sense?
Especially in Q2, I think the price hike, especially in board, I think there was somewhere around 8%. And paper, we have just recently taken around 10 days back, so the impact will be there in Q3.
Okay.
But in paper, we have taken a good price hike, but that impact will be seen in Q3, and we are crossing the pre-COVID level now.
Okay. And in terms of the pulp side, how is the situation right now? How is the pulp prices and how is the global situation on that side?
In global scenario, pulp prices has softened a little bit, but you can say whatever the price reduction had happened, that has been absorbed by the freight.
Okay.
That has been absorbed. In fact, the freight is much more higher than what we were paying earlier. So the pulp has become, landed prices has become more costlier, even though when the pulp was on the peak.
All right. Also, any chemical which we use has witnessed any kind of sharp increase? Because last 1 week we are hearing that because of China issue, the power supply shortage and all the chemical prices are moving up. So are we using any kind of input materials which has increased significantly or any kind of impact because of that change in the dynamics?
See, yes, we are using a lot of chemical where the base material is getting imported from China, and our supplier has already increased the price, and that is giving a good amount of hit in Q3. Availability till now they had not raised any red flag in terms of availability, but yes, the prices has gone up in the range of somewhere around 12 to 13% or 12 to 14%.
Right. Okay. So given the current scenario, we are able to pass it on in the coming quarters whenever the
yes, we had already passed those price hike to the customer, and the impact is 0. So what we are anticipating, whatever we had projected in a without COVID scenario, we will able to deliver that.
Okay. And sir, one of the product which we have come out as a replacement for single-use plastic, how is the progress on that side? If you can give some broader idea how much scale we have got into that.
See, there are 2-3 products now we have developed for the, you can say, the replacement of plastic. Earlier, you can say all this, you can say personal care companies like HUL, Ricket, they were using you can say the plastic coated laminate for wrapping the soap. So now what we have developed the biodegradable coating for them, and they are using that product, and the flowability is good. Right?
Yes.
That is the one. In another, that is especially for the yum food, where we were supplying the, you can say, the polycoated material. There the biodegradable coating has come, and that product is also doing good. In terms of kappa, where the poly coating was there, that has been also replaced by the biodegradable coating, and that product is also doing good. So in all 3 segments where the poly coating was there, now it's being replaced by the biodegradable, and the products are doing fairly good.
Okay. And sir, one of the things that last quarter we have realization has improved, but our profitability was still significantly lower than the earlier levels of peak profitability. So now as we are entering into the peak pricing kind of scenario, further increase is possible. So can we hit the earlier peak profitability on our EBITDA margin in coming quarters like Q3 or Q4 of around 23-24% kind of? If you can give just broader sense on that.
With Q3, 23-24% will be difficult. I think we will be touching somewhere around 20%.
Okay.
Because whatever the price hike has been taken, that is being absorbed by the input prices.
Okay. Got it, sir. Got it. It's helpful. So I'll just move into the KT Jitendran sir for the real estate questions.
Yeah, Amit, tell me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, sir, basically, one question everyone is asking that as we have right now lot of old historical lands which we are planning to develop, but on a long-term perspective, how we are looking at our business model. So, on a residential front, dominant part of the business will continue to be the ownership land, or going ahead, the JD or JV model will be more successful and weightage will be higher on that side. How we are looking at on a structural basis that.
Yeah. So Amit, thank you for the question. So as I mentioned, our strategy for building this real estate business is four-pronged. First is that we will be operating both in the residential and commercial segment, but residential we prioritized over commercial primarily because residential is where you can actually leverage the brand, get faster collection, better returns on capital, and build your balance sheet. Purely from that point of view, I think residential will be prioritized over commercial. Commercial is also an extremely important segment and valid segment for the stability of the business. However, the gestation period is very long. You got to invest in buying the land, then you got to invest in construction, and after that you take, depending on the size of the project, a reasonable amount of time to lease it, and then you monetize it. So the process is much longer. Whereas in residential, once you get the approval, even before construction, you should start the collection process. So that's one part of the strategy. Number two, which is basically trying to leverage cash flows. The other part of the strategy is to the business model itself. Largely, we are tending to follow apart from unlocking our historical land, also to get into projects which is largely through the JV model, where you again you don't have to put in a large amount of capital for purchase of land. So essentially, a JV model will be either through a revenue sharing, profit sharing, or an area sharing. In this case, typically you advance about 25-30% of the land value as your deposit, and then the rest is leveraged as we start selling the property. A share of that revenue or profit goes to the landowner. So that's the preferred model. However, if there are great opportunistic deals coming in our way for outright purchase or deferred outright purchase, etc., we will not be averse looking to it, depending on what sort of liquidity we have. Okay, so that's second part of the strategy. The third part of the strategy is the geographic the spread of our business. So largely we are looking at 4 markets: Mumbai, Pune, NCR, and Bangalore. So far we have got projects in Mumbai, NCR, and Bangalore. Pune is where we are now looking, so that we have a reasonably sound footprint at a national level, and that will help us in growing much faster. And also we understand these 4 markets, and they constitute about 71 to 75% of our overall residential real estate market, and they are among the all other markets, they are the least volatile. The fourth part of the strategy is focus hugely on execution. Make sure that we partner with the best partners, business associates to deliver our product. And for that we need A-grade consultants, construction partners, etc. So we partner with some of the best design consultants, structural consultants, construction partners, etc. In order to be able to afford these sort of high-end A-grade contractors, etc., we need to operate in a certain segment. So we are not looking at segments which is mass housing, affordable housing, etc. because we're not sure that we'll be able to deliver the sort of quality that stands for the Birla brand. And in order to be able to pay for and afford A grade contractors, we have to be operating in a certain segment, which I believe is above 6,000 rupees per square foot on saleable area. So we are looking at only those projects where the minimum selling price is in the region of 6,000 rupees per square foot and above. So largely, this is the four-pronged strategy. Our own land is, of course, finite. What we own, and largely this is located in Mumbai, in Maharashtra, Mumbai, to some extent in Kalyan, Worli, Prabhadevi, and a parcel in Pune. But apart from the land which we've already developed in Kalyan, are in the process of development, then and Worli, and at some point in time in the near future, maybe Prabhadevi. The other lands are at least 4 to 5 years away from any sort of development. So the way we plan to grow this business is purely through joint ventures and acquisitions. Amit, does that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's clear. Sir, just in addition to that, basically you have already discussed that demand is looking very strong over the last 1 year, just adverse to what we were thinking. So can this cycle would be slightly different as compared to the last cycle, because a lot of changes has happened in terms of the regulatory side. RERA has come, then we have a lot of unorganized players, or the smaller players are now out of the business at most of the places. So how do you look at this cycle versus last cycle? If you can just slightly give a better understanding of that in terms of the organized players.
Yeah, so so the number of players for sure, Amit, has come down drastically, but still there are enough players, right? Still
Okay.
there are enough players. If you look at it, it's not in tens and hundreds, it's in thousands. So there will so that shakeup will take a little more time to happen as we keep on going ahead. But yeah, I would like to believe that the pricing power will come into the hands of a few very strong, financially strong developers, and therefore this coming cycle should be more significant and more stable. It will be a much longer cycle. The industry, the way these cycles operate itself, keep changing. Previously, these cycles used to run for 3 to 4 years. Then there used to be a down cycle for 6, 7 years. Then used to come, and so the duration of the cycle used to keep changing. And if you look at the residential segment since 2012, there has been hardly been any price rise. 2012, first the NBFC crisis happened. Banks stopped lending. Investors moved out of the market. There has been a serious lull. So all those, and prices hardly gone up in the last several years. But now, it's surprising that during this tough period of COVID, the sentiments actually seems to have gone the other way. It's gone improved, and there has been a serious focus on ownership of real estate. Because initially we were thinking real estate, more and more people, the millennial consumers, etc., would rather go on rents because they are very footloose. They move from one city to another, so there is no point of actually investing into an illiquid asset like an apartment, etc. But the trend seems to be different now. Most consumer researchers are throwing that the millennials wanting to own homes. They all wants to own because so I think maybe this is largely fueled by this attractive housing finance rates, etc. So I think this will be a more lasting sort of a cycle. It may not be so sharp like the previous ones. Previous ones was pretty irrational in terms of price hikes. Every day or every week, people, developers used to hike prices. So those I would call as irrational exuberance. I don't think those sort of things will happen. This will be more rational, but more stable, is what I think. But it needs to be watched carefully.
Yeah, sure, sir. Sir, it's very helpful to understand about the cycle. Sir, coming on to our much awaited project on our early side. So last quarter we got that we have got the IoT approvals. So where are we in terms of the launch? we were expecting around during December time to launch the project. So how big would be the project? How is the competition in that market? If you can give broader idea, that would be helpful to understand that project.
Yeah, so as far as Worli is concerned, we are continuing to make good progress. I rightly mentioned, we got our IOD, and since then, in this quarter, which today is the last day of this quarter, I think we have been able to make further, progress. We've got the environmental clearance. We also have the CC with us. There are a few minor, not minor, some important clearances still awaited, like high-rise permissions beyond a certain height, tree NOC, and a few such NOCs are still left. So, and of course the RERA also. So I think by the end of October, we are hoping that, we will be getting most of these, and we would have got a RERA clearance also. And November, December is when we will start actually warming up the market, going into the market, seeking a partnership with channel partners, doing the advertising campaigns, promotions, price discovery, finding, doing what's the price that we should be launched at, what sort of inventory we should be, pushing into the market, depending on the prevailing sentiments, etc. And hopefully, either late December or early Jan or mid Jan, something is what we are most likely to do the launch. Amit, yeah. Pricing, pricing inventory. Your second question is that so. Basically, Worli is overall 40 acres divided into 2 land parcels divided by a road. One land parcel is 30 acres. The other land parcel where the workers' colony is established is about 10 acres. We're focusing right now on the larger parcel of 30 acres where Centurion is also there. Of this 30 acres, 10 acres is under dispute with Bombay Dyeing, that is earmarked and kept aside. So we are left with 20 acres. On this 20 acres is where we are focusing on. So in 20 acres, largely it's about 3 million square feet. Of it, 1 million square feet will be commercial, and the 2 million square feet will be resi. This commercial will take it up much later. So largely it will be the 2 million square feet of resi we are focusing on. And on this, this may be largely divided into 3 towers. So the first tower of about 7.5 to 8 lakh square feet is what we are focusing on our first launch. So this will be roughly about 400 odd apartments, and so pricing, we are anywhere between 30 to 35,000 or something like that on a saleable area. We need to sharpen and we'll hone in on just before the launch, doing a sort of a book building exercise. So it could be anywhere between 35,000. On carpet, it will be more like 60,000 rupees. So ticket sizes will be in the range of 4 to 10, 4 to 12 crores. Most of these tickets are 80% of it. There are some very high-end large apartments on the very high floors. So that may go up to 50, 60 crores also. So I'm hoping that about 3,000, 3,500 crores will be our first launch. Full potential. The full potential, the first tower.
Right. And in terms of competition, sir, how, which are the new projects or inventory wise, how is the market?
So yeah, so largely our understanding is, most of the unsold apartments are in the larger formats, upwards of 10, 12, 13 crores. There has been a huge consumption of to whatever 2 bedrooms, etc., were left in Park and Lodha's buildings. Mostly it is consumed. What is left is unsold inventory. And most of these projects which are there, where inventory is left, is projects which are been started about 10 years, 9 years, 8 years back, right? So all these projects are very advanced stages of construction. So whoever is opting for those projects is not direct competition to us, because our product will take about 5 years of time to get delivered. So it's those kind of people who doesn't want to move immediately into the new apartment are the ones who are going to come to us. So I don't think there is any that sort of direct competition, because our timelines are very different. Our product is very different. And our construction techniques and the rules, etc., of fire requirements, etc., are far superior to what is there in the vicinity, because rules have changed. The rules have become more stricter. The technology of construction, structural has also become much more advanced and different now. So there's several features which are very, very different and superior in our project. So, and of course, it's a very large land mass. Contiguous, 14 acres of land is available for all the amenities, common areas, etc. So this is positioned very differently. Most of the other land parcels are smaller sizes, and they either are some slum redevelopment or a society redevelopment or parking FSI, free parking FSIs. Ours is, from that point of view, a very clean land, no such encumbrances on us. So hopefully that should help us, differentiate. Our first focus will be to, generate cash. So we'll be playing for cash. So which means high velocity. And once we reach a certain threshold, then we'll move in for, the premiumness and, higher pricing, etc.
Yeah, so my second question was that only, that the first phase can be a where we can keep the budget size low, or we can play in that side. But in a second phase, we can have a, like if we can go for the premium kind of thing in a second phase.
So we will closely watch how the consumer and the market responds to the first phase. Since the product is pretty, very premium, but ticket sizes, we'll try to keep it within a reasonable this thing. Per square foot price will remain high. But what we're looking at is ticket sizes, which means a lot of efficient planning inside the layout, inside the house. And that is what we are focused on. We have worked with the Foster Partners, one of the best architects in the world, very, very premium architects, globally acclaimed architects, arguably one of the best architects at present in the world. In many rankings, they come number one, in terms of design efficiency, layouts, well plans, etc. So we have worked with them. We have worked very hard. We have looked at, a lot of consumer research. We're actually made a home which is very, very, responding to the Indian sensibilities in terms of light, air, ventilation. We have tried to keep any forced ventilation, shafts, etc. away and make it as natural as possible. We also worked at orienting them so that the maximum views and maximum sunlight is available for the property. It is a LEED Platinum building. There are very few in residential. I don't think we may be the first LEED Platinum building in India. So there's a huge focus on sustainability because this is a project for the next 50 years. So it has to be timeless. It has to be classic. And there's a lot of emphasis on, amenities, wellness, community creation, gardens, recreational things, etc. So we are hoping that this will redefine the real estate residential product in India. And also it's a mixed use product. There is a, high street plaza right in front to take advantage of a massive frontage that we enjoy. There is a road coming from behind the project also. So hopefully this front road will totally get decongested. So I think as the project progresses, I think this will completely reposition, that market, the Worli market. That is, that will be our very strong endeavor.
Yeah, right. Sir, in terms of the other projects, also we had 3 projects which was lined up to launch this year, like Bangalore, then Kalyan second phase, then Gurgaon second phase. So what is the status of these projects?
Yeah, so they all got a little delayed because of the first phase, the second phase of lockdown. Approvals were held up. However, Kalyan now, we launched it finally this month. I mean, October 1st. Sorry, this was September. Yeah. Sorry, in September, early September, we did launch again. I know we were pleasantly surprised. We sold about 125 apartments in a period of about 2 weeks, despite all the, the weather playing truants. Strong response again, with price increase. So of the 360 apartments, we have sold about 125. So very strong response, and we are hoping that by the end of the year we'll be able to sell at least 2/3 of this, launched inventory. So 1/3 is already sold. So that was Kalyan on Magadi Road, which is the Bangalore project. It's a new project. Again, that we are waiting for a RERA clearance. Hopefully in October we get the RERA clearance of early October, and maybe November we will launch that. And NCR, yeah, our first phase is now almost sold out. So second phase we should be launching sometime in November. We are awaiting the approvals. We haven't got the approvals yet there.
Yeah, so Kalyan sir, we launched on a premium to earlier pricing, what we have. And
yeah, so earlier pricing was the region about 7,300. So now we launched at 8,000. APRs of 8,000.
Okay. And Gurgaon also, we are increasing the pricing, sir?
Yeah, Gurgaon, yeah. So we are waiting the approval. Gurgaon, actually, we are selling at very high prices. The market is around 8.5. We sold the first phase, started selling at 10,500. Now, whatever is left, you're selling at 11,500 or 11,300 or so. So already there has been a price increase in phase one itself.
Right.
But yeah, we are looking at, that we will decide when the inventory comes, and we'll do the testing, the market testing. When we do a value proposition testing, that's the time we'll decide. So hopefully, we should get, because there's a huge demand. There's an unmet demand there. There's a huge, we have a waiting line of a massive amount of customers. So if we don't launch it immediately, some other competitor may take advantage of that. So we are trying our best to get the approvals and launch it.
Okay, great. So in terms of the JDA project also, this year we have missed, not yet got anyone. So we were very close to 1 or 2 projects. So can we expect a 3-4 this year, or if now it is going to be postponed to next year?
Yeah, so the challenge is, as you rightly mentioned, there were 1 or 2 projects which we missed out on, and we lost those opportunities. However, we regrouped sometime in June, and we are now, putting all efforts to sign at least 3 to 4 projects this year. So far, we haven't done yet anything, but I'm hoping that by Q3 would have done 2 projects, and by Q4 would have done other 2 projects. So I'm hoping that at least 3 to 4 projects, with a top line of about 3 to 4,000 crores, we would be signing with before the end of this financial year. I'm quite hopeful we should be able to do this.
Oh. Yeah, so last question from my side is, recently we have seen that China has a lot of issues in terms of the property side also. A lot of things are happening. So can these flows can shift to the emerging market like India? And we were already looking for the SPV side of the funding. So can we expedite that process, or still it is, I think you have already addressed that question. That
yeah, so yeah, as you saw, we already went through a lot of hiccups in the few years before this. The RERA and all these regulations brought a lot of shake-up, right. And our banks are much more careful in lending to real estate. There are very strict norms in lending. When banks stopped lending, the NBFCs moved in, but now, so many NBFCs crisis came up. So I think, it's very unlikely that India would get into a position like that. The kind of scale in which China's real estate was operating, like China Garden and, Wanda and Evergrande and all these guys, was very different scale, some massive debt scale. People without demand were still building it. They continued building it even though. So ours are largely funded by consumer receipts. For example, today, if my cost is 100 rupees, so my construction finance will be only 25, 30 rupees. 65, 70% is funded by consumer receipts. So a situation like, if it's a good place, good demand, good this thing. We also had faced in the past some situations in Noida where large developers like Amrapali and many others had huge unsold inventories. But there the problem largely was the inventories were not built. The problem in India was we are taking money from customers. We are not building inventories. We are not building it. We are putting it into more land. So our people, so we are not taking money from banks and building this thing. So here, China is facing, they took so much debt that they were not able to repay debt. But they have this old unsold inventories. The number of Chinese unsold inventories is so huge that I read somewhere that we can house the entire population of Europe in those, unbuilt house, in those unsold houses, which are already built. So I think we are in our situation very different. Our people have been, our problem in India has been we have been taking money from customers and not building it. We are diverting those money somewhere else, like into land acquisition or taking it out of the country, etc. But with the RERA implementation and strict bank laws, etc., I think that such a situation is very unlikely to happen here.
Yeah, but in terms of the other way, sir, can this be an advantage situation for Indian property market because a lot of FDI flow can come to the Indian?
Yeah, that's quite possible. That's a possibility. That's a strong possibility. But more, yeah, if they're looking at the stability of the Indian markets, etc., yeah, that's quite possible. There are many other markets also which are equally attractive. For example, all the South Asian, East Asian markets. There are several markets, but if we get our act together, the problem in India is that our approval rules are very opaque. It's very non-transparent. It takes enormous amount of time. So needs some great what is it called? Ease of doing business. So if you make some good progress in ease of doing business, and streamlining of these approval processes, simplification of all this, one single window process happens, then I think there's a huge amount of possibility because there is actual demand in India. But unless these rules kind of ease out, I think there will be some sort of a challenge. And countries like Malaysia, Vietnam, and all this, they are really opening up their economies, Philippines and all. So it's a toss between all these, economies. If we get our act together, we can really be in a good position to attract most of this. But we need to do some structural reforms for doing that.
Amit, just to add, it can also work in the reverse direction because all these funds will be, number one, their money is blocked over there, so they don't have funds to give. As well as they might be a little concerned about, now allocating funds for real estate.
Right.
So we'll have to wait and see how things happen.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's very interesting, sir. Thank you very much. I will hand over to Sanjeev, sir.
Yeah,
sure.
I know we've run out
Thank
of
you.
time. Just one last question from my side, which is that Snellbhai, you talked about potential private equity or strategic partners that could come in Birla Estate. So far, whatever we have seen in the property scene in India, it's been either yield investors or distress investors who have kind of put in huge amount of money. Who would be that right? Like, which kind of funds are you looking at, or have you spoken to anybody at all on this?
Katie, you want to take that?
Yeah. So Sanjeev bhai, we are looking at largely platform funding companies, institutions like sovereign funds, like the ADIA or GICs of the world, or the pension funds from the Canadian pension funds, or large European pension funds, or now some Japanese guys and Korean funds are also moving. So we are looking at that sort of institutional large players. So at this point of time, we see that the interest is largely on and investing into commercial properties or into warehousing and industrials. Residential, they're sort of going slow because there is so much demand for credit, high price credit. So and those are last mile credit. So there's a huge opportunity there. So all their interests are focused towards there, and money for platform funding like ours are available as more like a structured debt. Right. So we are keen on going after more equity debt, more equity funding. Right. So but I'm sure at some point of time the interest will return, and we're just waiting. We are exploring. So we did do some preliminary exploration. But we didn't see that much of excitement for a residential platform to be formed. But I'm sure that sooner than later, as the residential market picks up, demand picks up, the inventory levels come down, there will be for a player like us, once we sort of do a good job of early and we show some good traction in construction and delivery, etc. I think there will be demand. I'm pretty sure about that. It's only a matter of time.
Sanjeev, just to add to what Katie is saying, see what is their current interest, was probably in our own land projects,
Yeah.
which is actually having from our perspective, a low execution risk. And therefore, we don't want to part those projects with somebody outside when we are comfortably placed in terms of financing it.
Yeah.
So, and we are looking at equity participation on project basis, not on the corporate basis.
Right.
So as and when when we find that we are actually getting too many deals, good deals to sign, and we feel that funding them is a little difficult, I think that would be an appropriate time when we should probably approach these funds, and they might that time be ready, because right now they are out in the market for looking money for jam,
Right.
where they can have distress assets and people want to immediately offload their inventory, etc., and all that stuff. So, I mean, we actually on a need basis, we are not really, because right now most of our projects are our own land which we are launching.
Yeah.
And we don't want them to participate in that because they are low execution risk projects for us.
Sure. No, that's great, Sunilbhai. That's great. So I guess we have kind of overshot the time also. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for participating in this. That was really, I think, very useful for us to understand more of what's happening and what is the future of Century looking like, and looking pretty interesting.
Yeah, our pleasure, Sanjeev. Always nice to talk to B&K.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you, Amit.
Thank you, Sanjeev. Thank you, Amit.
Thank you. Thank you, JP. Thank you, Jim.